Everyone keeps asking me about the style of these animations I directed. Is it AI? Are these based on vector graphics? Or did we just steal footage from BioShock Infinite? No, it's not from BioShock Infinite. I saw you, BioShock Infinite! Pain! Anyway, in this video, I'll put you in my shoes, the shoes of animation director, and show you how we build the visual style for Playing to Survive. Now streaming on Amazon Prime. What's unique about this project is that everything here is human-made. There is genuinely no AI influence at all, and I know that a lot of people say that these days, but here it's actually true. And as such, it might be the last CGI animation ever made in this way, which is kinda crazy. And if you're interested in the topic of AI and art, stick till the end. So, it's the year of 2022, and everything starts with Fletcher Arts, and a painter they hire, Elise Leonard. They give her mood boards for 1930s Germany, and she gives back some old school magic. Then CGI wizards Jan Rieck and Andrzej Skalník step in, they take Elise's paintings and rebuild them in 3D. Literally one-to-one, just to prove they can exist in 3 dimensions. And they absolutely crush it. And that's it, end of the video. Bye. No, I'm joking, but that's how you usually build a visual style, right? Mood board informs artwork, and artworks inform first scenes, and those then inform sort of everything else. Job done, right? Well, not quite, because only then the project lands in your studio. And you realize there's a major problem. Elise is gone off to another project, and you only have 4 artworks, but the film has hundreds of shots waiting to be made. So if the 3D artists have no further inspiration in paintings, everything that was good in the first CGI test scenes you saw will just gradually disappear. To avoid this desperately, you try running the first test scenes through AI, hoping the filters will create illusion of painting, sort of for free. But the documentary director Annete Baumeister, remember, you are only directing the animated sequences, stops you. She says, AI moves so fast that it becomes instantly obsolete, and this film needs to be timeless. And she's right. So now you need something unique, something graphic, something less CGI, and no AI cheating. After all, your main character, Gottfried von Cramm, lived in 1930s. His world wasn't digital, it was analog. Everything back then was real. So the big question becomes, how do you merge 1930s aesthetics with Blender without it looking fake? Well, as you know, most animation styles are built from 2 parts, the backgrounds and the characters. And since this is a documentary, it's pretty clear that the characters are in the first place. Your main character is Gottfried, tennis superstar in Nazi Germany, who happens to be gay and is secretly sleeping with a Jew. It's messy, dramatic, fascinating, and everything animation director could hope for. But none of that is your problem. Your real problem is his looks. But he looks amazing, you might say. Yeah, but to translate a real person into animation, you need a caricature in a sense, right? And for that, you need strong defining features to accentuate, like the nose, the eyes, the chin, something that would make Gottfried Gottfried. But imagine, there is none to be found. In fact, he appears to be almost a shapeshifter. And it gets trickier, because in your film, the animated shots will sit right next to the real footage. So, if he doesn't look like himself, you as the director are in serious trouble. You have failed at the most important thing, the main character. So, being quite nervous, you try to cover your ass by going with 2 approaches at once. You let one artist, Adam, make studies, while another, Andrzej, tries modeling, and you hope one of them will find the answer, but it's just not there. So you keep repainting and remodeling over and over. But when you find one angle that starts to work, he falls apart from the next. So you start seriously thinking to yourself, maybe you're not wrong. Maybe the shapes are fine. It's just that the previews are at fault because there's no context, there's no scene. So you force the team to run tests in half-finished scenes. But no matter what light you put him in, what environment, what style, it's still not really him. And the time keeps ticking away, and the fear starts creeping in. The fear that you actually might be totally deranged, that you are lost in a haze that will never clear up and you will not make this in time. In fact, you might fail right here and now at the very beginning. So, being totally desperate, you start over and you search for every photo of Gottfried you can possibly find. You build new set of reference boards, front views, side views, half profiles. You categorize everything. Then you sit down with a team and study each feature in detail together. And slowly, through tiny obsessive tweaks, a face emerges that, mainly thanks to the team's patience, looks sort of like Gottfried. And you breathe a huge sigh of relief. Everything just brightens up. Now, let me step away from the story because there is the first takeaway here. If you are an artist working on a film, don't skip the reference boards. In fact, make them for every aspect of the design if possible. Main characters, most used props, important scenes. References will help you find the exact idea of what you want. Because if you don't have that, you're going to waste a lot of time. And not just yours, but everybody else's. Now, let's get back to the story. And hooray! You figured out the main character. The head and body, by the way, which your team later reuses for every other character in the film, actually, even the women. But there's still one tiny thing that keeps nagging you, and that's the fact that you still have no idea about the second most important aspect of the animation. Remember the backgrounds? You're staring at those beautiful paintings by Elise again, and it doesn't produce any results. And at this point, you are seriously running out of time. But then you look somewhere else, and your brain wakes up. You see how these amazing posters for Green Knight mix photos with flat color, and you remember that this started roughly back in 30s, in Gottfried's time, and this forces you to realize there are different answers than painting. Things like print and collage. Also, director and producer helped a lot here. So you build new reference boards, and suddenly everything clicks into place. The thick layer of fog starts lifting, and all of a sudden, not just you, but everyone in the team sees clearly. Andre kills all the gloss from the model, simplifies the lighting, and adds cell shading. Adam geniusly supports that with line drawing in the textures, creating this cartoony look. The environments then follow the same graphic approach, simplifying everything. No details becomes the rule, except for the important bits where we actually want you to look. So that's what makes this style so confusing and maybe exciting. Some parts of the image are cel-shaded, some are simplified but ray-traced, with realistic shadows, and some are just real. But there's one thing I didn't tell you about, and that's how all of this fits in one image. And the answer is color. And this is your second major takeaway. Never underestimate color. It's the most overlooked element, but if you get the color right, you get the scene right. In animation and in live action. Always plan color in advance and test it in the very first scenes you get your hands on. By the way, these are the first renders by Ondra I recolored in Photoshop, trying every possible variant that felt cool to me. We tried black and white, standard color, crazy color, but there was a clear winner. And this is it. This is the winning visual, the first approved for production. And just imagine, after all you went through, now you actually know you can do this. Well, not quite. Because the next question is, how will it look in motion? The answer for this is long in preparation actually. Because while you were dealing with the aesthetics, Tom Stockinger, amazing animator, was secretly working on the first animation test. And this looks just incredibly real, at least in terms of motion. But does it feel vintage? Well, not really. The simplest cure is always to drop the frame rate to 15 FPS, and yes, it definitely feels more traditional now, but now all the dynamicism so essential to Gottfried's playing back in time is gone. So you shamelessly steal a trick from Into the Spider-Verse, and your amazing animator Joachim hand paints motion blur into every single frame. To finish this illusion, you add wobble and warp to break up the straight lines, and you can suddenly see that the digital shakes hand with the handmade. And then suddenly the production is here, and by a hair you and your team stitch together a style from tons of influences, and it somehow works, even with the crazy color and lighting. And by the way, if you want me to dive into color and lighting, tell me in the comments. Anyway, you see in front of you the first scenes in motion, and a huge weight drops off your chest. You finally know these animated sequences can now actually happen. But that's not the end, because here is where the AI finally pokes its ugly head. The thing that I said at the beginning, that the style is not just my work, is profoundly true here, as I hope you have seen. A huge number of artists contributed, directly or indirectly, and you probably already guessed where the similarities to AI lie. There is not much difference, in principle at least, between our processes and how AI synthesizes the work of other artists, right? Well, the real difference maybe is we get paid, I guess, for now. Or perhaps the actual difference is that the humans made this, and that has now sort of a smell. You can feel it like some special type of French cheese, and that seems to be gaining value lately. People are craving the smelly, real stuff more than the artificial American burger cheese. You know, using AI to create visuals, therefore, is basically like cooking with something that looks like cheddar, smells like cheddar, but when you bite into it, it tastes a little bit like a bathroom sealant. But even that has its upsides, you see. You can use this fake digital cheesy artist to make something, post it online and claim it's yours. And the cheesy artist won't even complain. You won, hooray! But that's pretty gross, right? Signing your name under something that's not yours. We should all condemn this, except for when you dig a bit deeper. Stick with me. I recently needed a design for a baddie for a short fantasy film. The resulting style was supposed to be realistic, done in CGI. So I needed artwork that was similar, but there was no budget, and my drawing skills are pretty basic, so I just sketched what I imagined, and you guessed it, let the AI models add the realistic style to it. Then I cut up the AI generations in Photoshop, reassembled them in a manner that resembled my original vision, color corrected the pieces so they fit, in-painted some areas, and that was it. I was actually happy with this, and I thought it was similar to what I would have created with a real artist, I think, who, by the way, would have hated me for the number of comments I usually have, or especially for comparing him to the AI model just now. Anyway, given what you now know, is this still an AI image? Am I signing my name under something that's not mine? To what extent is this mine, and to what extent it is not? Like, is there a percentage I can assign to this? And if I made an animation using a similar processes of collaging elements together, would it make me an AI sellout as well? Will I sign a work I should not? Where is the line exactly? Like, I have an idea for a totally non-commercial animation project that nobody will pay for, but I can create it using these techniques. Should I not do it just to be ethical towards the animation industry? Honestly, I don't know. Perhaps you can tell me in the comments. Bye.